Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
From 90s heartthrob to noughties action hero, Keanu Reeves has been a movie star for over 3 decades. Whether it's time travelling for a school project, taking a red or blue pill, or getting revenge for a murdered pooch, there's no denying Mr. Reeves' coolness. Here's Neil, who is also sort of cool, with 10 Keanu facts.
Thank you very much, Pav. So here we go. In high school, Keanu Reeves contemplated trying out for the Canadian Olympic ice hockey team. He was one of the actors that lost the role of Wolverine in X-Men to Hugh Jackman. When his sister Kim was diagnosed with leukemia, he set up a private foundation to aid children's hospitals and cancer research. As an avid rider, he co-founded Arch Motorcycle Company, which builds and sells custom motorcycles. One of his first roles playing a competitive cyclist for which he shaved his legs in a 1980s commercial for Coca-Cola.
Whoa! Boxorama!
When Keanu Reeves first began acting, his agent thought his name was too exotic. So he was credited as Casey Reeves, Norman Creeves, or Chuck Spadina. Reeves' first role ever came at the age of 9 in a theatre production of Damn Yankees.
Whoa, hold on.
Believe this, Keanu Reeves is also an author, having written the text for a picture book, Ode to Happiness, illustrated by Alexandra Grant.
Whoa! Boxorama!
Keanu Reeves trained with the legendary martial arts choreographer Yun Woo Ping for the original Matrix film.
Whoa, hold on.
And he co-founded the alternative rock band Dogstar and played bass guitar for the band from the mid-90s to the early 2000s.
Whoa! Boxorama!
Wonderfully done. Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
My
That was
pleasure.
Wonderful Keanu Reeves facts with some wonderful pronunciation there as well. Keanu Reeves, only one person that we could have to come and join us to count down the top 10 Keanu Reeves facts. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Em from Verbal Diorama. Welcome.
Welcome indeed.
Whoa! Whoa! She's here, whoa!
She's here. Whoa, indeed. Indeed.
Pop quiz, hot shots. You've got a podcast and you want a guest to talk about Keanu Reeves. What do you do?
You
Yeah.
put M. That's what you do.
Exactly, you call
That's
it.
exactly what you do. I mean, it was your idea, obviously, to do the top 10
was.
Keanu Reeves. And if anyone's listened to your wonderful podcast, there's a reason, because there's a link to Keanu Reeves to every movie that you do in your podcast.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
fascination with Mr. Reeves?
I think, honestly, there's, especially in Hollywood, there's a lot of toxicity. And, you know, there are a lot of people in Hollywood who have these very high profile careers and they, you know, but they seem to get away with everything. And they're notorious for being really bad people. And yet they have these amazing careers. And what I love about Keanu Reeves is not only is he literally like the most attractive man in the world because he's fit as fuck, but also he's a really nice guy. Like, he does stuff for people. He you know, he like gives his seat up on a plane for, you know, or train for pregnant women. You know, he signs like all of these autographs for people. You know, he doesn't question anything. He doesn't complain about anything. He's like the most down to earth movie star that I think we have, other than Brendan Fraser. I think Brendan Fraser's kind of there as well, like just a really humble, normal, sweet guy. And so is Keanu Reeves. And I love both of those men. So, you know, I guess it's kind of my thing, but there's something about Keanu, you know, the whole internet's boyfriend thing that he's got going on. And I just feel like Verbal Diorama is a place to celebrate movies and to celebrate the fact that movies get made. And it's so hard to make a movie just generally, you know, you've got to get all these people together, you've got to get your schedules aligned, you've got to do all this work, special effects, you know, all of that, and it all gets done. The resulting movie may not be brilliant at the end of it. That's, you know, all art is subjective. But
yeah,
to have Verbal Diorama is a place for positivity. And to me, the most positive person in like Hollywood doing movies is Keanu Reeves. And so it just made sense. I think it was kind of from, I think, episode 7 onwards, I started doing it, or maybe 13. I don't remember exactly, but it was quite early on. I started doing this connection to Keanu. So every episode I do something called the obligatory Keanu reference. And yeah, it's basically linking the movie that I feature with Keanu Reeves. And if anyone is on the video right now, they can see that he's right here behind me. Not literally, listeners.
no,
He's not literally behind me. I wish he was literally behind me right now.
I know,
That
but
sounded rude,
that sounded
but-
very rude. I'll give that a ding on my bell, I think, for that one.
Yeah.
And he'd also
No,
be
there's a
very
picture.
embarrassed because you've just said what a lovely person is, and if he's in the room with you, he's going to be so embarrassed because he's very humble, isn't he?
He is very humble, but I think he knows that people think that he's amazing, and you know, but yeah, he is a very humble guy, and he just seems like a very sweet guy. And like I say, he's so good looking. Like he is, I think, you know, looks wise, he's the sort of guy that I really, really like, because he's just so handsome, and he's tall, and then like some of those movies, you know, where he worked out and he's got like, you know, really nice physique. And...
All right, calm down, Em. Calm down. Okay,
Sorry.
all right, that's
I'm
fine.
calm, I'm calm.
Is it
Have
bit
you
hot
ever
in here?
met him?
I haven't, but that's
No.
like, well, it's like the dream. I've been trying to do it for a while. I've got a couple of contacts that I've been sort of saying, you know, if you ever do get an opportunity, especially like through film stories, because obviously I write for them. I've kind of said, look, if there's any opportunity to interview Keanu Reeves, you know who needs to get that, right? And the editor, Simon Brew, he's the loveliest man. And he's kind of basically said, you know, it's probably going to never happen, right? And I'm like, yeah, but if it does, just that tiny, if it does happen, please, I will go anywhere in the world. But I tell you what will happen. So I will get this, if it happens, I will get this gig to speak to Keanu Reeves. And I'll probably enter the room and I'll probably be like the shyest person. Like I'll probably be like giggling in the corner. You know, I just know that I'd be like really frightened to speak to him.
What would you do if you got in the room with him and you started interviewing him and he was a real shit? What would you do? But what would you do if that was say he was having a bad day and all of a sudden he was like Bruce Willis style interview where it was like, because sometimes they say you should never meet your heroes, should you? I mean, I don't want to ruin like your.
You're bursting my bubble.
I know, I am. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. It's just, it's that thing of like, I've always felt the same if you meet someone like George Lucas or Harrison Ford for me, and they ended up being just like really abrupt, and you think, oh my God, this is my one chance to meet them.
But, you know, I kind of feel like someone like Harrison Ford, I think he's kind of well known for being quite forthright. Like if he's not happy, he'll say, I don't want to do this. I'm not happy. Same with Bruce Willis, you know, and in a way, you've got to kind of give respect to them. These people work hard. They might do like 100 press junkets in a day. They don't want to do 101. I get that. But to me, I don't feel like Keanu would ever do that. I feel like he would always be respectful and kind. And even if he's having the worst day, because let's be honest, he's been through some bad things in his life. And, you know, he still kind of comes out of it. And, you know, he kind of had this big career, like in the late 80s, early 90s, kind of going through to 1999. And then like in the 2000s, he kind of started to disappear a little bit. And then he had like this huge resurgence with like John Wick. And now like, obviously going forward with some movies that we're going to be talking about. And I just feel like people recognize kindness and grace and nobility and all of those wonderful qualities. And we need that in the world, because let's be honest, there's a lot of shit in the world. There's a lot of crap. There's a lot of horrible things going on right now. And sometimes we need a little bit of sweetness and brilliance. And I think Keanu delivers that. For me, he does. And I suspect for a lot of people listening as well, he delivers that.
Yeah, I must admit. Right, well, Neil, what's your overall view of KR?
I think he's one of the finest action stars out there still. And he's proved that with the Matrix, the original Matrix, way back 20 years ago, or whatever it was, 30 years ago. And then he's done the John Wick series, again, proving that he does it. But he puts his heart and soul into it. Now, he's not obviously the best actor. We all know the infamous, "I know where the bastard sleeps" line and all of that. But he's still charismatic, isn't he? He's a screen idol rather than a screen actor. Does that make sense to me?
Yeah.
He's a movie star, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a bona fide movie star. But you don't hear, like Em said, you don't hear anything negative about him. It's always a positive thing. And, you know, even he's got a great sense of humor. He was on that Between Two Ferns, wasn't he, on that? And he was hilarious. Yeah, I think I've got a lot of time for him. And when I looked into his films, I have to say that, you know, there's a lot of great movies on his list, and you forget them a little bit. You know, there's a certain one that I completely sort of nearly washed me over when I was thinking, oh, what should I put on the list? And obviously I bought his filmography up to see everything. And I was like, holy fuck, how did I forget that movie? So there's some great movies.
For me, with Keanu, is like, when he's good, he's really, really good. And it seems for me that the movies where he hardly says anything, he's fantastic in. You know, when he's the silent, moody guy. When he has a lot to say, I mean, Knock Knock for me is one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen. It was the Eli Roth.
You see, I've still not
invasion
seen
movie, and it's
I've not seen it.
Have you not seen it? There's a scene there. You know the remake of The Wicker Man with Nick Cage, and you know the bees scene. There's a scene like that in there that when myself and my wife went and saw it at the cinema, I was laughing, and my wife was going, "You're not supposed to laugh at this part. This isn't a bit to laugh at," and it was really bad. But when you see Keanu in proper, like you say, action. I don't think there isn't anyone around now that's as good as him. Maybe Tom Cruise doing the
there's Tom Cruise is in the equation, isn't
but I think he's at the top of his game when it comes to like the John Wick and the Matrix. And there's always that little glint in his eye, that little glint in his eye that he'll say that this is a movie, but I'm the star of this movie, you know. And that's what I like about Keanu Reeves. I think.
But when you watch the behind the scenes, like of John Wick and the Matrix and everything, it's the commitment he puts into it, and the work and the practice and the study. I think it's honourable, isn't it? Really? It is. It really is honourable.
Well, we are here to celebrate Mr. Reeves. So, would you like to kick us off with your number 10? Now, I'm sure we'll have a lot of duplicates on this, I'm sure, but we will talk about each movie as much as we need to. So give us your number 10, Em.
Okay, so this might be a bit of a wild card choice, but my number 10 is Always Be My Maybe.
Okay.
And it's not a huge role for Keanu Reeves. I don't know if either of you have got this on your list.
No, I don't think I've actually seen it.
Okay, so it's on Netflix. It's a rom-com. It stars Ali Wong and oh my god, the other actor's name's just gone out of my head. I really like him as well, and I can't think of what he's called.
Let me have a look. Randall Park.
Randall Park, thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, Ali Wong, Randall Park, and it's basically about these two people and like they're friends, and he starts to kind of be attracted to her, and then she introduces like her new boyfriend, who's Keanu Reeves, but he's playing himself in the movie, and it's like an exaggerated version of himself. But the reason I love it is he's only in it for about like maybe 5-10 minutes, not very long, but he's such like an exaggerated version of himself. He plays a character that's completely not him at all. Like he's a little bit vain and a little bit stuck up, and it's just like one of those performances that became like a meme on like Twitter and like
it's that restaurant. Is it a restaurant scene where he's like kissing?
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen that bit. Yeah,
Always Be My Maybe. And it's just a really fun role for him. And it was one of those that I think Ali Wong just kind of called him up and said, would you do this? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll be your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And it's just really fun. And it, like I say, it's kind of unlike anything else that he's done, because I know he has done rom-coms in the past, but it's like a bit of a fun kind of twist on this, because he is playing Keanu Reeves, but it's clearly not him. And he's just having a lot of fun with it. And I just think, yeah, it's I didn't think it would be on either of your lists, to be honest. And I did spend quite a lot of time going through my list and like, oh my God, I need to move this. Oh, this is better than that. But yeah, I just felt like that needed to be in there because it is a little bit of an unknown gem, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge rom-com fan, but I really enjoyed it.
I've seen that scene, and it definitely looks like he just had loads of fun like shooting it. So he must have thought, right, I'm just going to go and have fun with this and just be as over the top as possible. But yeah, it's a very funny scene.
I will have a look.
I'll put it on the video playlist for our Patreoners. I will put it on there so that people can see. Go on then, Neil, you're number 10.
So this is a comic book adaptation. Probably guessed it already. It caused a lot of a hullabaloo when it first was announced that he was playing the title role of Constantine, or Constantine, whichever way. Obviously, the original character in the comic books was Liverpudlian. He was blonde-haired, but Keanu came in with his surfer dude accent and black hair. But I think he owned it, and I think he made the film very accessible, watchable, and his action in it was great. I mean, obviously, he was helped with a great supporting cast like Tilda Swinton being in it. You can't go wrong when you've got a support like that. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I still think of it with fondness. Hence why it's at number 10. It could possibly have gone higher if I'd have had the time to rewatch it, but I hadn't. But yeah, I think it's a load of fun. Have you both seen this film? I take it.
Yeah, I actually saw it quite recently because I actually did another podcast, and it's not come out yet, but it's about Constantine, and so I rewatched it for that. So I think I watched it again about a couple of months ago. And it's on my list, and it's number 5.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Because I know that the hardcore Constantine. I know that they changed the pronunciation for this movie, but I know the hardcore fans don't like it. But I think if you take away the name Constantine, it's a lot of fun, and I really love what they're trying to do. And I love Rachel Weisz, just anything she's in, I will watch. As you said, Tilda Swinton is incredible. Peter Stormare is amazing in that movie. And I just have a real fondness for Constantine, and I will happily sit and watch it. Like some movies you just think, oh, I'll just rewatch it just because. Constantine is one of those for me.
Then it's going back straight back on my list. I must catch up with it because I loved it for a while.
Yeah, I
really did, and it's been a while.
I need to revisit it. I think
tiny little bit dated, but overall, I think like the depiction of hell, I think is really beautiful. And I don't know. I really like. Sorry, my phone's just gone off. I just realised.
It's Keanu. He's asking for a date. Look, that's what it is. Yeah.
Let's hope so. Let me put that on silent. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
I really like the visuals in it. I'm not a huge fan of the comics. Like, I didn't really read the comics. So to me, it was just another Keanu Reeves movie. But obviously, because I did an episode on it, I had to look into the history of Constantine. And it is fascinating. It's a fascinating movie, and it's one of those that I really do think if it was called something else, if he was called John Smith or whatever, I feel like the movie would have been given a much better chance than it was given.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to revisit it. 'Cause it's been years since I've seen it, so
I certainly am
watch
going
that
to
again.
now. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
Wonderful. Okay, my number 10. Keanu's famous for a few trilogies. This was number 3 in the Bill and Ted trilogy. So this is Bill and Ted Face the Music. I was really surprised when I watched this,
Still haven't seen it.
just how much I enjoyed it. I mean, apart from the fact that I don't know whether Keanu's face looked a bit weird. I think maybe because I'm used to seeing him with his John Wick beard, that he seems to have, he seems to have a very, very sort of just a very smooth face. And I don't know whether they tried to like do any CGI to it. I don't know. But the actual movie, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it, because I just thought, why are they making this? It just doesn't seem right. But it is a fantastic movie, and it's got a lovely heart to it. A really good heart to the movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, Neil, I don't want to spoil it for you.
No, I haven't had the chance.
But I can't remember the guy's name. Who is it that plays Death?
Oh, Bill.
Oh God, everybody's blanking on names.
Oh my God.
No,
William Sadler. William Sadler, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, William Sadler. Die Hard 2.
He's back. He's back again. And if they should make a spin-off just of like Death, because he's fantastic as a character. So I recommend it to anybody that hasn't seen it yet to find it and watch it. So I don't know whether it's in your top 10, M.
It's not, but it was a close contender for the top 10.
Right.
I really enjoy it, and it's one of those that I feel like everyone was. There are some legacy sequels that no one wants.
Yeah.
So something will come out, and you're like, why has this come out? Like the original was like 20 years ago. Like, why bother? And then there are some that people really, really want to see, and like a third Bill and Ted was something that a lot of people wanted, and it was in gestation for so long, and they managed to do it. And it was really fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was sweet and lovely, and the people, the actresses they got to play, like the daughters. I think one of them's non-binary, so not technically actress, but the actors, shall we say, who they got to play the daughters. I thought they were excellent as well. And I just thought it was really sweet and kind. I actually do need to rewatch it because it's been a while since I've seen it. But it's a great movie.
Yeah, I would recommend it without a doubt. Em, your number 9 then, please, Em.
My number 9. Okay, so this was a difficult one because this was something else, and I switched it.
Oh.
I don't know if I should say what it was originally.
Okay.
If it's still in your top 10, then I'd hold on.
It's not.
Oh, right.
I took it out.
Okay.
So I really struggled with like the end of I struggled with the top of the top 10 and the bottom of the top 10. So I originally had A Scanner Darkly.
Okay, great movie.
At number 9. And it's I like that on a technical level more than like an acting level, because I think it's the rotoscoping. I'm a big fan of animation just generally, and Keanu doesn't really do animation as a rule. So I really like the way they shot that. I like the story behind that. There's a hell of a story behind that, actually. But then I thought to myself, there's another movie that I think deserves the number 9. And again, I think this might be controversial, but I put in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Wow, don't worry about that, because that's my number 7.
Okay, no, well, I tell you why. I feel like Keanu gets a lot of stick for his role in that movie. And I do feel like he probably was miscast as Jonathan Harker. But at the time, he was working a lot. He was struggling. He was on burnout, basically. And I really don't think he's as bad as people say that he is in that movie. I rewatched it recently. And everyone always makes fun of how bad he is. I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he knows how to pick his roles nowadays. But back then, I don't think he did know how to pick his roles.
I agree with that, yeah.
But I think Bram Stoker's Dracula is one of the most stunningly beautiful movies. It's genuinely one of my I love the Gothic romance just generally anyway, but the sets and the costumes and everything is pretty much everything is practical in that movie, apart from smoke. Smoke is the only thing that's CG. Everything else is practical, and it's stunning and it's beautiful. And I adore Bram Stoker's Dracula. I know Francis Ford Coppola's done a lot of great movies, but that is up there for me. And yeah, Winona Ryder, I love her. Gary Oldman. I mean, you can't go wrong with Gary Oldman in your movie. And
giving it everything as well, isn't he?
Against Anthony
like,
Hopkins.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Anthony Hopkins, it's a stacked cast. Gary Oldman is chewing that scenery, and I love it. But I love the practical effects in it. I'm a practical effects nerd, so anything with practical effects like that, and it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful movie. And yeah, he's not brilliant in it, but I think he's trying his best, and I have to give him props for that, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I think, like you said, it's a visual treat for the eyes, the whole movie. I think, it really is. But I don't think it matters that Keanu Reeves isn't very good at it, because you're not watching his performance. He's great in it as for what he does. But like you said, it's all about Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins, really, isn't it? It's those two having a real ham off. And I think both of them are superb in that movie. And I absolutely love that movie. I really do like that movie a lot. I think it's a great telling of the Dracula story, although they tried to do it quite close to the original book, like the diary form. It loses its way a little bit, but yeah, it's great. That whole sequence with Keanu locked up in the castle and old man Dracula floating around, and
and like the shadows on the walls, and
it's just a visual treat. It really is. It's
beautifully shot. It really is. It really is. Yeah, it didn't make my top 10, unfortunately, but anyway, that's a great one. Neil, your number 9, please.
So we spoke about Ham. This is another ham it up film. It's The Devil's Advocate. Al Pacino has never been hammier than this in his life, but I actually really enjoy this. This is like this is just watching somebody told, go for it and enjoy yourself. And I actually think Keanu Reeves is pretty decent in this. And we got to remember it's Charlize Theron's first movie as well, isn't it? Main role.
Didn't realize.
Yeah. Taylor Hackford, wasn't it, directed it as well?
Yes.
I really quite enjoy this movie. I don't know, people question why I really enjoy it. I don't know. I just enjoy the good versus evil sort of storyline. The fact that they brought it into, consumerism and lawyers and courtrooms. I just think it worked a treat, an absolute treat. And like I said, I really don't think Keanu Reeves is that bad in it. Have you ever seen this one?
No, he's really good in this movie. Like, I rewatched that recently as well.
Yeah.
I don't just watch Keanu movies, I promise. But yeah, I rewatched it quite recently, and because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I was surprised at how good he was, especially if you're against Al Pacino.
Yeah.
And Charlize Theron. I know that it was an early role for her, but she's always excellent.
And she really is in that movie. I mean, the whole demise of her.
Oh,
really,
God.
It's quite harrowing.
Yeah.
That
it's
whole
absolutely
bit,
terrifying.
Yeah. The whole bit in the church and everything I find really uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
And
that was actually my number 6.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So, that's I really, really enjoy The Devil's Advocate.
I'm glad I found a fellow admirer of that movie, because I've often been ridiculed for liking it so much, but I said you've got to give it another go. The script's great. Al Pacino is like Al Pacino at his hammiest.
Who
What's
doesn't
not to
want Al
love?
Pacino as the devil? Like,
Yeah,
that's like the perfect role.
yeah.
Because he's so good. Al Pacino is incredible in that movie. And you could argue that maybe Al Pacino makes Keanu better, but there's like a particular scene where Keanu's in a bathroom, and he's just like the smile, he does this smile on his face, and it's just, I totally buy his character, and it's just everything about that movie. And like you say, it's consumerism. It's all about like people in power and what power can do, and how power can sway the justice system. And it's a really interesting movie, definitely.
For sure. Have you seen it, Pat?
I've never seen it. And I'll tell you one thing is I always get Devil's Advocate mixed up with Scent of a Woman.
Okay.
Probably you shouldn't
They're
really
very different.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
shouldn't,
yeah, very
really,
different.
shouldn't really do that. And I think it's just this whole Al Pacino. And I always think, is Devil Advocate the one that he's blind in, or is it the one that he's the devil? I can't. Obviously, it's the clues in the name, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, I've never seen it. And again, after listening to what you guys have said, maybe it's one of those movies that you should just like go back
Honestly,
into.
I would give it a go, Pav. I think you might be quietly surprised. And like I said, it's not there just to watch Al Pacino ham up. There really is some uncomfortable scenes.
Yeah.
It was classed as a horror when it came out, which is, I think, unjust. It's not a horror movie at all. But there are little bits of frightening stuff in it if you really want to go down that route. But like I said, it's got some very uncomfortable moments in, and it's a great movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
On the list it goes. My number 9, Toy Story 4.
Well, that's my number
where he's
5.
That's your number 5, is it?
Yeah.
Where he's Duke Kaboom. He's like the evil Knievel of the Toy Story world. I think he's the best thing in Toy Story 4, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, because I mean, I love the Toy Story movies, but I think the fourth one's probably the weakest one out of the whole lot. But he just is fantastic. He's got the voice, the character design. I mean, I had an evil Knievel when I was little, so straight away, as soon as I saw it, I thought, I wouldn't mind one of the kabooms to play with. But I think he is the best part of that movie. So it's it's a Disney movie, but it's made all the better for Keanu Reeves. And I know a lot of people say, but he's just doing the voice. I think there's a lot of skill in doing a good voice characterization.
100%. And this is one of the things that, sorry, because I'm a bit of an animation nerd, one of the things that I think really annoys me is not only when people think that animation is just for kids, because it's not. No. But also people dismiss animation and it's just easy. Like that's an easy thing to do for an actor. I think to put in a really great vocal performance, we could record some lines right now and put it to animation, and I mean, it'd probably be a bit rubbish, but
I think it would be amazing. I think it would be amazing.
I think you have to be fully committed to do a good voice role. And it's like, people become synonymous with great animated roles. You think of Tom Hanks, and obviously he's done some great live action roles, but he is Woody. He will always be Woody. And I feel like that's the same for Duke Kaboom. It's not on my list. And the reason why it's not on my list is the first 3 Toy Story movies are so iconic. That's like one of my favorite trilogies ever. Yeah. I think it is one of the most perfect trilogies that's ever been put to film. And I've always felt the fourth one has not been necessary. No. And I didn't really like what they did in the fourth one, because, Woody's always been about being there for Andy, being there for Bonnie, and then to all of a sudden decide to be there for himself. I kind of felt like that's not in my mind, that's not what a toy would do. And so I don't dislike the movie. I definitely think it's better for Keanu, and I will happily watch it for Duke Kaboom, because Duke Kaboom is amazing. But yeah, it just didn't make the list because I feel like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, I mean, it was, but I still think it's like you say, Toy Stories are films that have got charm to me, and charm in abundance that a lot of movies and animated movies can't replicate. And even number 4 instills that to me. When I sit and watch a Toy Story movie, even today, it transports me back to what I call my child. Well, it transports me back to my childhood as well, with the toys that you see and everything. And that's why I have such a fondness for it. But Keanu Reeves in that, it's just perfect. Yeah. I couldn't think of anyone else that could do that as well.
But then that's a good thing. That's one thing that Pixar and Disney do well, is the animation, they cast their roles so well. And like you say,
they do.
You think of Woody now and you think of Tom Hanks, or vice versa. And any of the voices, you think, right, that is so-and-so. Yeah. And I think that's right with Keanu. Right then, Em, your number 8, please.
My number 8. Okay, so it's a movie that I actually, again, only saw quite recently. I feel like this is becoming a trend, but it's not. And it was one of those movies, I didn't know that Keanu was in it until I saw it. So it's not like he's top billed or anything. And that's the movie Parenthood.
That's
Oh,
my
I
number
forgot, yeah.
7.
I
That's
forgot
my
he
number
was in that,
7.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I love Steve Martin. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I saw that it was on streaming and I was like, I've not seen this movie. People are always telling me it's great. It's obviously, I think it came out in 88, I believe. And so it's an older movie and I'd never seen it. And I just completely loved it. I love like the depiction of families and, you know, just the comedy that surrounds families. And I loved that like his character was a bit of a stoner boyfriend character, but he wasn't like a mean stoner boyfriend. Like he was still a loving, kind stoner boyfriend. And it's like, he's the sort of guy that, no, you probably don't want your teenage girl, your teenage daughter to go out with. But if she's going to go out with a stoner, that's probably the best, you know, the best type of guy to go out with, you know, because he just seemed like, I just really liked him. I really liked him in that movie. I thought he was really sweet.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, I mean, I again, like you, I'm a massive Steve Martin fan. And so when it came out, it was 88, 89, whenever it was, watching it then, I was, what was I, 20 years old. So I didn't have a family at the time. So I watched it just as a comedy and as you know, a family comedy, if you like. I watched it about a year ago. Now that I've been a father and I'm a grandfather, how different you watch that movie when I've got daughters and you see their boyfriends and like you think they're shits, those boyfriends. I don't like them at all. And you think that of Keanu at the start of that movie. You think he's riding around on his motorbike. He doesn't care about anybody. His attitude towards the parents aren't very nice, but he actually loves his girlfriend, you know? And you realize that I've always had this mantra when it comes to my daughter's boyfriends is that I hate them until they prove me wrong. And then I might like them a little bit, you know. And I love the fact if they fear me, if like my daughter says, yeah, they're really scared of you, I'll say, why? I've never had a fight in my life. But I said, that's good. If they think I'm this mean guy, that's good, because then they might treat you nice. Yeah. So you watch the film in a completely different way than I did like 20 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever it was. But as a movie and Keanu in it, I think he's fantastic because his character has this, you think of what he is at the start or what you think he is, and he turns out to be this. And it's Diane Weiss is the mum, isn't it? I think. And I think River Phoenix, is it? So. Joaquin Phoenix is in it, isn't he?
He is,
yes, yeah. Joaquin Phoenix, Martha Plimpton's in it as well.
That's right. Because no spoilers, but at the end when they decide they're going to go off and they're going to I think they get married. Keanu and is it Martha Plimpton?
Martha Plimpton, yeah.
And Joaquin Phoenix says to his mum, says, "Oh, that was very nice of you to do that." And she goes, "Yeah, I don't think the odds of them sticking together aren't very good, but you've got to let them have a chance." And I thought that's just so sweet. Yeah. It's just lovely. They're sort of they're probably not going to survive because they're way too young, but who knows? But yeah,
that's a Ron Howard film, wasn't
it? Yes, it was a Ron Howard film. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, it's been a long time since I've
Jason Robards, Rick Moranis, Tom Hulse. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, but he was Leaf Phoenix at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Go on then, Neil, your number 8, please.
So it's a Bill and Ted, but it's The Excellent Journey.
That's my number 8.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
There you go. Great minds. So I can always remember seeing this at the cinema and not really knowing what I was letting myself in for because I didn't know a lot about what the movie was. And I have to say, I fell in love with both Bill and Ted unanimously when watching it. I thought it was an excellent premise. It's got my comedy hero, George Carlin, in. What's not to love? And the fact that they would save their history paper or whatever it was, they went back and forward in time. Wild Stallions. I think it's just fantastic and so much fun. And it hasn't dated that badly if you watch it. And the effects in that are practical, aren't they?
They are. Oh. Yeah, that's this is my number 7.
Lovely.
And yeah, I really love it, not only for the fact that it obviously, I think it mainly kind of introduced the world to Keanu because obviously he'd had like smaller roles and this was like his first lead role, I believe. And obviously with Alex Winter as well, they kind of make a really good pairing. And you know, I feel like a lot of people's misconceptions about Keanu is like this stoner, like, whoa, dude, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And I think he plays up to that a lot in his roles. But I think I just really love that you've got two teenage boys, and ultimately they're just really good people. And yeah, they're not doing that brilliantly at school. You know, they are maybe slacking. They are focusing on their band. You know, they're typical kind of teenage boys. But ultimately, they are good people, and they do want to do well. And I love the fact that they go through time and they pick up all these historical characters and they bring them all back. And
yeah,
I just think it's such a wonderful premise for a movie. And
it's a great family film.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
It is a great family film.
It's when Napoleon goes to the water park. That was the bit that always made me laugh. And he's like having his ice cream and he doesn't want to share with anybody. And he's still like eating this chocolate ice cream.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie.
It's so much fun. And it's like, and also, I think there's a lot of value in movies that do try and talk about history. And, you know, because let's be honest, if you're a family or if you're like a teenager, you're not going to want to watch a historical epic. You might not want to watch Elizabeth, the Golden Age, and, you know, but something like Bill and Ted is really accessible for people. You can learn a little bit about Joan of Arc. You can learn a little bit about Napoleon, a little bit about Socrates or Socrates, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But, you know, just like little tidbits of information. And I think that's really important because, like I say, historical epics are great, but you don't all the time want to sit down for a 3-hour epic about Troy and Helen of Troy and all of that sort of stuff. But you can happily sit and watch something like Bill and Ted and take a little bit of that information away with you. And I really love it when movies do that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I learned everything about Caesar from Carry On Cleo. So, I mean, it's those kind of things that you know that you're going to, it's better than a history lesson without a shadow of a doubt.
The infamy.
The infamy, indeed. Yeah, it's. I didn't realise that it was Jane Weedlin that played Joan of Arc.
Yes.
I just looked at that from
Nor
who had
did
that
I,
amazing song Rush Hour, and she was the Go-Go's. I think it was.
Yes, she was
with Belinda Carlisle.
With Belinda Carlisle, yeah, such a good film. Such a good film. Which that was my number 8, which was also your number 7, M. Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula was your number 7, Neil.
It was.
My number 7 was Parenthood. M's number 6 was The Devil's Advocate. So Neil, we're on to your number 6, please.
So it's a sequel, and it's a sequel to The Excellent Journey. It's The Bogus Journey, which
That's my number 5.
Which I actually think is the sequel that's better than the original. Maybe I'm being controversial, but I think this one is because of the inclusion of death, like you spoke about. William Sadler is just phenomenal as Death. I mean, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter do what they do, and they do it well. But it is just that whole death sequence where they're copying the Seventh Seal, where they're playing the games against death. Let's go again.
My battleship.
Yeah. And playing Twister, which made me laugh.
Yeah.
But I just find this one immensely funny.
Yeah.
There's lines in it, you know, when they go up to the pearly gates and they recite poisons every rose as its thorn. I think it's just inspired. It really is fun for all the family. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's a really strong movie, this one.
My number, is it in your top 10, Em?
It's not.
Okay.
But it was one of those, I found it really tough.
Yeah.
I found it really tough to do a top 10 in the first place. But I do enjoy Bogus Journey. I love the fact that they tried something different, because I feel like a lot of sequels will just rehash the same thing. So they could have been like Bill and Ted in college, and they have to do like an assignment in college, and they have to, you know, all of that sort of stuff. They could have done that quite easily, and I love that they did something different. Yeah. And that it was so wildly different as well. It was almost like a completely different franchise in a way. It was a little bit dark as well, which I kind of really liked, like the idea of death, like the character of death, and the fact that Bill and Ted death, you know. I thought it was really interesting to kind of take it that way, and really brave, I think, for the movie to take it that way as well. And I love like the robotesses. I think they're brilliant.
Yeah.
And yeah, Enter Station.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, love it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's great. And like I
it is
say,
a great movie.
William Sadler. There's, I think, doesn't he play the bass or something at the end? And
He
he has like
does.
he has a little rhyme that he says, and I can't remember what it is, but I remember watching it the first time and I absolutely pissed myself laughing. I'll find it and put it on the video playlist because it was, I can't remember what it was. I wish I'd
His little
remembered it,
rap
but
that he did.
yeah, he did like a little rap, but it was so funny. So funny. My number 6 was the movie that actually got me into watching Shakespeare movies, and it's Much Ado About Nothing.
Great version.
Because we actually went to the cinema to watch this, and for the first 15-20 minutes I thought, I have no idea what they're saying. I don't understand the language. I don't understand the rhythm of what they're saying. But that seemed a very accessible movie, because it also had people that I recognized. Michael Keaton was in it, obviously Kenneth Branagh, Denzel Washington. It was an amazing cast. But Keanu Reeves was fantastic in it. Just this broody, like no nonsense kind of guy. You thought, right, you can't mess about with this guy. And I absolutely, that's my favorite. I think that and the Mel Gibson Hamlet, I think, are my favorite Shakespeare adaptations, I think. In either of yours top 10s?
I nearly did. It's on the other side of my
okay.
list. I don't know why. I mean, it is a great movie. I mean, the Hey Nonny Nonny always makes me laugh.
The Hey Nonny Nonny.
Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah, he is good in it, but I didn't really I don't know what to say really. It's a great movie, and it's Kenneth Branagh's movie, isn't it? But Keanu is very good. But that's what Kenneth Branagh does so well. He makes Shakespeare accessible when he does it. So if you ever watch have you ever seen his Henry V? It's a very accessible version of Henry V. Even I prefer the Olivier version. Oh, it sounds so pompous.
Yes, so
I prefer the Olivier version, but the Branagh version is so much more accessible.
Right.
There we are. Let's leave it there before we get too pompous.
Do you know what? I've actually never seen it. And that's really weird for me, because it's a Keanu Reeves movie and I love Shakespeare.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been on my to watch list for ages and ages. And I need to hunt that out, because I really do want to see it.
It's really funny. It's really, and Michael Keaton is like just really, I mean, it's just a complete comedy. He's the comic relief of the movie, but it is a really good movie. Really.
Okay.
Really
I'll definitely hunt it out. If it's on a streaming service, I'll find it.
Excellent.
Because it's exactly the sort of movie that I enjoy watching. And like, I've seen versions of Much Ado About Nothing. Joss Whedon, sorry to mention his name, but he did one a few years back, and I really enjoyed it. I love Shakespeare adaptations. So but that, unfortunately, that's one that I've just not had the opportunity to see yet.
There you go. One for your list there.
And you know the play, and you get a great, like I say, you get a great version of the Hey Nonny Nonny song in that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my number 6. Your number 5 was Constantine.
Yeah.
So Neil, what's your number 5?
I told you, Toy Story 4.
Oh, I didn't write it down. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
And we'll edit that bit out.
We'll edit that bit out. Yeah, that's so my number 5 was Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So here we go then. So your number 4, please.
My number 4 is Point Break.
That is my number 4.
That's my number 3. That's my number 3.
I love Point Break.
Yes.
I mean, the sexual tension in that movie between Johnny Utah and Bodie is just beyond. And it's like, I feel sorry for Laurie Petty, because Laurie Petty is there. She's a beautiful woman, but there is no way that Keanu's going to choose her over Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I think the stunts are incredible. I think it's a really fun story, and I think it's really tense as well. Like, I love the tension in that movie. Point Break is one of the best things he's ever done. That's why it's the number 4 on my list. yeah, it's also one of the very rare action movies that's directed by a woman.
Yeah. Catherine Bigelow.
And Catherine Bigelow. And it's interesting as well, because you expect a movie that's directed by a woman to maybe look like it's directed by a woman. And I know that probably sounds really weird, but obviously I am a woman, so I feel like I can say this. But I feel like she shoots the movie in such a way that she knows that her name is on the director's credit, but I feel like she still shoots it in a way to appeal to an audience that may not at the time completely accept a woman directing a movie like this. And I think one of the things I love about Keanu is, you know, not only is he respectful of women, and he always has been, he like advocates for women in roles like this. Like, he loves working with female directors. And I just think the Johnny Utah character, I mean, Jesus Christ, he's hot. So hot. Like the shower scene, oh my God, like I have palpitations watching that shower scene. And then it's like Patrick Swayze's in there as well, and oh my God, he's hot. Like he's Patrick Swayze, but the two of them together, there's just such electricity between them. And yeah, I absolutely adore Point Break, just because it's the stunts, man, like they really jumped out of a plane.
They did.
And really surfing, like people don't, to get that shot, it's so incredibly difficult, especially when you're on the sea and you're bobbing up and down and you've got like huge waves. The fact that they got those huge surfing shots is incredible. I can't wait to do an episode on Point Break, because I've got so much to say about Point Break. But
well, they nearly ruined it, didn't they, with the remake? I mean, that's one. I trust me, I've only seen half an hour. I had to switch it off. It was goddamn awful.
But that's the thing; it doesn't affect your love for this one, because they ruined it. Well, they didn't ruin this by doing another movie.
No.
The one thing about Point Break I found is that you've got two of the sexiest, coolest actors. The movie very easily could have been like style over substance. They could have been just loads of, I mean, there are slow motion shots of Keanu and Patrick Swayze, but it could have been just that. The fact that it's got this really compelling story, bank heist, the whole adrenaline rush of everything else, makes it a movie that's a lot more than just two really hot guys going at it.
Was I focusing on the wrong thing there?
No, because that's what it is. You've got, like I say, you've got two at that point. What was it, 91? So they're both of them are at their peak. Well, getting to their peak. I mean, Keanu probably has obviously had another peak, and who's to say that if Patrick Swayze hadn't tragically passed away, he wouldn't have had another peak. But they're both at the top of their game, and it could have been, and with any other director, it could have very easily have just been, shots of them with their top off, and let's not worry about the story. Let's just get as much as we can of those guys because they look amazing. They do that, but there's also a great story in there as well.
And like you said, Catherine Bigelow's action direction, I think, is
fantastic,
phenomenal. I mean, that whole chase through the back alleys and the back streets and the back gardens.
Yeah.
It's just so.
And Gary Busey with his meatball subs.
Oh, yeah, get me
subs. Two. Right, my number 4 is Speed.
Well, that's my number 3.
Okay.
This is the one I nearly forgot about, weirdly.
Right.
No, not in the sense of I forgot the movie. It's the sense that I just didn't think about it when doing this list, and I don't know why. It was really odd.
Okay. This was one of the first ones that I thought about. And again, because I've seen it recently, I went to the Prince Charles in London to see it on like the original 35mm print.
Oh, right.
It was amazing.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Is it in your top 3?
Yes.
Right. But not in your next 2, though, I take it. So we won't talk about it, or is it number 2, number 3?
It's number 2.
It's number 2.
Oh,
there you go. That's cool. I think it's one of those perfect action movies. I think it's got absolutely everything that you need. It's got a fantastic premise that has then been a bit like Die Hard. It's been rehashed so many different times in different situations. Keanu is great. Sandra Bullock is great. Dennis Hopper is a fantastic baddie. He's just unhinged as a baddie, and
don't forget, what's his name, Jeff
Daniels is like the
is really
sidekick.
good.
Yeah. It's just a fantastic movie. So I can't really say. I mean, less said about Speed 2, but
you can understand why Keanu didn't do it, can't you?
Yeah. The thing that I love so much about Speed is he was purposely chosen because they wanted like an accessible, relatively normal guy. They didn't want a huge action star, like, a big Arnold Schwarzenegger, muscly kind of guy. They basically wanted a guy who could be a cop in LA. And that was the reason why Keanu was chosen, because he's fit as fuck, but he also he could pass as like an average guy on the street. Please God, let me meet an average guy on the street who looks and acts like Keanu, please God. But the chemistry that he has with Sandra Bullock is off the chart. I love that because this was obviously one of her first major roles. She'd done Demolition Man, but she wasn't really known at the time. And obviously she's a huge star now. She's amazing. And I love that they've got like this really sweet chemistry, but I love that he's got a vulnerable side. Jack Traven, he is a cop. This is his job, but he's got a vulnerable side. Like, he cares about people, and that really works. I think if they had like someone like Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever in that role, it would not have worked. No, because you need to be able to empathize with the situation. You need to believe that he really cares about these people on the bus, that he cares about Annie, and it's like different. It's like all of these set pieces all put together. Like, you start off with the elevator, which is just so tense, and when it's like coming down, and I mean that's one of the best scenes in the movie for me, with the I call it an elevator. I should really call it a lift, shouldn't I? Because I'm British, but the lift, the elevator, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But it's so tense, and then it's like it goes from that tension to like something completely different on like the bus, and I'm just so in love with that movie. I still think it looks incredible. It holds up really well. Yeah. There's so much amazing practical effects in that movie. And that's the reason why it holds up, because they were really blowing up buses. They were really jumping buses. And I just think it catapulted him into like this action star. Like, this was like the movie that really kind of cemented this role for him. And obviously the same for Sandra Bullock as well. But it's a movie you can go back to and you can watch again and again and again. The music, the score, Jan de Bont's direction, because obviously he was known as being a cinematographer. He wasn't known for directing. So that's right. This was something completely new for him. And the whole like Die Hard on a bus, I think, doesn't give Speed enough credit, because it's more than Die Hard on a bus. Die Hard as an entity, it's brilliant. I love Die Hard. But there's something about Speed. Like, give me a choice between Die Hard and Speed, unless it's Christmas, because Die Hard's a Christmas movie, everyone.
Absolutely.
Let's not forget that. But I will always choose Speed. It's absolutely fantastic, and he's gorgeous. And I want him to save me. I want to be the Annie in his life.
Indeed. I want to be the Annie as well. Go on, Neil, your thoughts?
Well, I can't really add much to what Em's already said. I mean, it is absolutely. You articulated it so well. It is a near on perfect action film, isn't it? It has you from the beginning right through to the end. Like you say, Dennis Hopper's a great villain. He really, really does shine on that. Pop quiz hot shot. Yeah. So it's there's nothing else you can say. It's a great movie. It really is.
Certainly is. It's all in our top. Well, how would I have it at number 4? So, okay, that's my number 4. So, Em, we need your number 3 then, please.
Okay. So this was particularly hard because this is a trilogy of movies, and I assumed I couldn't use the whole trilogy as an entity. So I had to pick one out of the trilogy. And I've chosen as my number 3 John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's a reason why I didn't choose John Wick, and I feel like I need to explain myself. Now, John Wick was obviously the catalyst for this amazing comeback. I love John Wick, and I love John Wick Chapter 2. But the reason why I picked Parabellum over the other two is, first of all, I feel like if you're going to pick one out of the other two, you pick John Wick. But there's a specific scene in John Wick that I simply cannot watch. And I've never been able to watch it. I watched it for the first time and I cried for 20 minutes. So I have seen the movie since, but I have to fast forward that particular scene just because it upsets me so much. It didn't help at the time that I watched it. I just lost one of my cats. One of my cats had just died.
Right,
That would do
And
it.
so
That would do it.
I was bawling for 20 minutes, guys. Like I was sobbing when that thing happened in that movie. So that's the reason why I couldn't choose the first John Wick, even though it's really important. But to me, like John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum is, they know at this point what the John Wick name means. And they are like, we are just going to go completely batshit crazy in this movie. We are going to put everything in this movie. We're going to do these amazing stunts. We're going to bring Halle Berry and some dogs into this movie. And you're going to fucking love it. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like literally lapping this shit up. Like, this is amazing. It's beautiful. It's got these beautiful shots with like this neon lighting. Oh, I bloody love John Wick 3. It's my jam.
Okay.
It's like they were making a movie just for me.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it.
It's
man.
just, it's unapologetic, isn't it? It is, we're going to throw everything at you.
Yeah.
And you're just going to
Literally.
sit there and enjoy it.
And it's like, you know, when they did John Wick, they didn't expect to make a franchise out of it.
No.
Like, but I feel like they've built the world organically enough. So you have all of this like backstory about where he came from and, you know, this organization and all of that stuff. But I mean, Halle Berry is awesome. I love her anyway. But those dogs, amazing stunt work with those dogs. And as I keep coming back to practical effects, it's just so much fun, and it's super violent.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually a huge fan of super violence, but it's almost cartoony kind of violence, and I just really dig him as John Wick. And I wish I could have chosen all three, but I felt like I didn't want the whole top 10 to be like John Wick 1, John Wick 2, John Wick 3.
That's what I thought it might
Future John
be.
Wick.
I thought we were going to have like the Matrix and the other Matrix movie. I think it was just going to be like
just like loads of
two or three,
franchises.
two or three franchises, and that was going to be it. Yeah.
But I wanted to pick one of them, and I was like, that's the one that always sticks in my mind the most
Right.
for just being so bombastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had to be John Wick 3.
Cool. That's wonderful. Neil, you had Speed at number 3.
I did.
I had Point Break at number 3. You had Speed at number 2. So Neil, what's your number 2?
So it is the first Matrix movie. I, like everybody else, went to see this, not quite knowing what to expect, and having
That's my number
socks-
2 as well, by the way.
Oh, there we go. And having my socks completely blown off. It was original. It was unique. We'd never seen anything like it. The bullet time, although been replicated and bastardized so many times, it is now iconic to me for that movie. I think all the cast are fantastic, and it throws out some great ideas. It's not just an all-out sci-fi action movie. It's got some absolutely fantastic ideas in it.
And it still holds up, I feel.
It really does hold up. I haven't put any of the sequels in there because they were both shite. I'm going to be honest.
Well,
I really
all three
am.
of them. The new one.
I haven't seen the new one, so I can't
didn't.
comment on that.
Okay.
But,
Do
but
I need to? Sorry, I was just going to say, do I need to say what number this is for me? Because I think it might be obvious.
I
Yeah,
think it might be obvious.
wait until you've done your rundown, and then we'll get.
We'll
to
have a
it.
chat.
Okay.
But yes, it was a unique moment in cinema history, wasn't it? 99 this came out.
Yeah.
and we
Can you
really
remember
haven't seen
those
anything else.
those times when it, because I think they released, didn't they release them like, or they released 2 and 3 like each Christmas, didn't they?
They
Yeah.
did.
The
Yeah.
same as like the Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings. I think the Lord of the Rings, they did the same thing with the number
Yeah,
2
because
and number
I
3.
believe they filmed them back to back as well,
Yeah,
which
that's
They
right.
did.
wasn't really done at the time. So it was
No.
like, I mean, I've got a lot to say about this movie, and I feel like I should probably hold off for obvious
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have so much respect for the Wachowskis, just generally.
Yeah.
I feel like they are visionary filmmakers, and I love the fact that they try and do things differently. But yeah, anyway, come back to me.
We will
come back
do.
to me in a little
Yeah.
bit, because I've got a lot to say about that movie.
Indeed. Yeah, it's my number 2 as well. I think it's all those things. It's visionary and everything, but we'll have a chat about it in a minute
Yeah.
for sure. So that was my number 2. So before we reveal our number 1s, then if you want to give us a countdown from number 10 to number 2, and then Neil and I will do the same.
Okay, so my number 10 was Always Be My Maybe. My number 9 was Bram Stoker's Dracula. My number 8 was Parenthood. My number 7 was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. My number 6 was The Devil's Advocate. My number 5 was Constantine. My number 4 was Point Break. My number 3 was John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. And my number 2 was Speed.
Wonderful. Neil, your 10 to 2?
So at number 10, I had Constantine. At number 9, The Devil's Advocate. Number 8, Bill and Ted's Excellent Journey. Number
Excellent
7,
Adventure, Neil.
what did I say? Journey. Did I? Excellent Adventure.
I have
sorry.
to pull you up on that, otherwise I won't be able to
Yeah.
sleep tonight.
Oh, there we go. Adventure. I didn't realize this. Number 7, Dracula. And number 6, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
There you go.
Number 5, Toy Story 4. Number 4, Point Break. Number 3, Speed. And number 2, The Matrix.
Thank you. And mine is number 10, Bill and Ted Face the Music. 9, Toy Story 4. 8, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. 7, Parenthood. 6, Much Ado About Nothing. 5, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. 4, Speed. 3, Point Break, and 2, The Matrix. So, please give us your number 1 Keanu Reeves movie. Here we go.
Well, my number 1 is 47 Ronin. No, I'm joking.
I just better write that down.
No, Joe, I have seen 47 Ronin, and it's actually not as bad as people say it is. But no, my number 1 is The Matrix, and there's many reasons why. I really struggled with this. I was going back and forth between this and Speed a lot. It was a genuinely tough decision. I can't even tell you. Like, at one point it was Speed, and then I was like, no, it's The Matrix. No, it's Speed. No, it's The Matrix. And the reason why I chose The Matrix over Speed was, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, was what The Matrix did for cinema. How influential The Matrix actually was, how important The Matrix is, because it is one of those things that I feel like has been watered down by its sequels. But watching the original, it still feels like so fresh and so interesting, and the world building, and it's got this amazing cast. You've got Keanu Reeves, you've got Carrie-Anne Moss, Lawrence Fishburne, and it's, in a way, it's a pretty simple idea. The whole, is this reality? Are we being controlled by machines? It's something that I think a lot of people still think about to this day. But it's actually quite a simple premise. But I really love how it's executed. I love the visuals in it. And there's a lot of CG in that movie, but I think it's done really tastefully and respectfully. Not so much in the sequels. I think they go a bit overboard in the sequels personally. But this was really such a landmark in so many ways. It was a landmark for Keanu's career. He'd obviously been this action guy. People knew he could do action, but this was something beyond. Like you mentioned, Neil, with the whole bullet time thing. This was basically changing the landmark of cinema. This was changing special effects. And it became a parody of itself in so many ways. People started to parody the whole bullet time thing, and because it was so influential and it was so important. the other thing that, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I've got so much going on in my mind. It was also, to me, a landmark for the Wachowskis. This was kind of the movie that propelled them into stardom. I feel like their career has been a little bit varied. Like for The Matrix, there's stuff that people don't rate as much, stuff like Jupiter Ascending, which I think is okay, actually.
Speed Racer was another one.
Speed Racer, like, I think that's okay too. I think there is merits to what Lily and Lana Wachowski do. The fact that they're trans women as well. They weren't out as trans women at the time of The Matrix, but there's so many trans metaphors and allegories in The Matrix. If you look at it closely enough, there's so much stuff in there about identity and about how important it is to basically live your authentic life. And obviously, we don't know what they were dealing with at the time, but clearly there was some thought put in there about identity and about how important it is to be your authentic self and not live in a fantasy world, live in your reality. And I really love that, especially now that they have come out as trans women, because I think a lot of people won't necessarily take it as a story about being trans, because I think you can just look at it as, a sci-fi movie, and that's great. Like, if you just want to see it as a brilliant sci-fi movie, that's amazing. You go out and you enjoy that movie. But if you want to look a little bit deeper, there's so many layers in there. And I just think it's so important to have movies like that. And they went ahead. They make these incredible movies that are so different and so vivid. And, apart from Speed Racer, they don't tend to kind of adapt other things. They make up their own sort of stuff. And I love the Wachowskis for that. And I think they don't get enough credit for what they've done as directors. But it all kind of started with The Matrix. And I can't say enough good things about how brilliant that movie is and how influential it is. It's more influential than I think people give it credit for. And it also came out in 99. 99 was a stellar year for movies. Brilliant year. The Mummy came out in 1999. So that's how you know it's a good year. Yeah. But honestly, I couldn't, as much as I love Speed, I couldn't not choose The Matrix as number one in the end. It means too much. Yeah.
I think that was the thing. For me, it was a switch between that and my number one. But I'm assuming I know what your number one is, Neil. Is your number one?
Well, I did sort of cheat because I didn't want to fill up the top three to me going 1, 2, 3. It is John Wick.
That's
I've done it as a trilogy because
that's cheating.
What? That's cheating. Done it as a trilogy?
Well, no, I did because I didn't want to fill it up with everything else.
You can.
All right, I'll go the original then.
Okay, that's all right then. Because that's my number one as well.
Yeah, it's John Wick. I do love it as a trilogy. It's such a good trilogy. I'm so excited for number 4.
Yes, me too.
But I just love the fact that it was quite in today's standards a low budget feel to it at the beginning, and we're going through just simple everyday almost cliches of these storylines where something horrible goes wrong to somebody hard and they go off and kick the shit out of all of them for it. We've seen it done, but he does it so well in that movie. And his cold assassin-like calculations of killing everybody in that film are just great. And you really root for him, don't you?
Of course
you said, when you've seen his dog, spoilers, fuck it. When you've seen his dog get killed, you want revenge as much as him.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the unwritten rules of movies, isn't it? Is you don't kill the dogs. Yeah. You don't kill children and you don't kill the dog. And the beautiful thing about it is not just the fact that you want him to go and kill everybody. It doesn't matter how sympathetic you are to the bad guys, but it's also the fact that as soon as they hear the name John Wick, even the main bad guy, the top boss, takes a big gulp of his drink and is like, shit, oh no, what has my son done? Because they all know, he is the bogeyman. He is the man that is going to come and just kill. He's not going to be happy until everybody is dead, because there is no negotiation. That is his job. That is what he's good at. And it's like you said, Em, the whole world building of it all. the Continental, and the fact that they've all got their own currency, and that's where they go to for sanctuary, if you like. I think it's one of the greatest action movies ever made.
It's great. It is a great,
without a doubt, and it is a great trilogy. But you did you did cheat there, Neil. I'm sorry.
I mean, you did cheat, Neil. Let's be honest. Let's not
absolutely. I thought, well, I'll bundle them all in together.
Both myself and Em, we're not angry. We're just disappointed.
Very disappointed.
Not as disappointed as I am in myself. But it just, I just didn't want to fill it up because, to be honest, I probably would have gone 3, 2, 1. You know.
Yeah, well, that was the issue that I had, and I was like, unlike you, Neil, I was like, I'm going to choose one. So that's
just how it is. That's just how it is.
I did choose number 1.
You did in the end,
Eventually, after some peer pressure.
Indeed. We got some honourable mentions that we'll quickly just whiz through. At And Why Not Pod said Speed, the Bill and Ted trilogy. Got to pick one, and why not Pod? John Wick, Parenthood, Keanu, Point Break. He's the best thing in Toy Story 4, and his awesome cameo in Always Be My Maybe. At Dad_Sleepy said Point Break, Dracula, John Wick, but his cameo in Always Be My Maybe deserves a shout. At Harry May Movies says Speed, Point Break, Constantine Time, Matrix, Bill and Ted, John Wick have to be. Lisa Buchanan says, all right, this is hard because I adore him. I imagine myself as Diane Keaton in Something's Got to Give. And Keanu...
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yes. I forgot about that one.
And Keanu was whisking me away to Paris. His role in Parenthood with Diane Weiss is very memorable as well. Loved him in I Love You to Death with William Hurt, Kevin Kline and Tracy Ullman.
Oh, I've not seen that one, but yeah, Something's Got to Give. Why would Diane Keaton not choose him? Oh my God, don't choose Jack Nicholson. God damn it. Oh my, Diane, what's wrong with you?
Stu Grant said The Matrix, A Scanner Darkly, My Own Private Idaho, Matrix Reloaded, The Devil's Advocate, Interview with a Vampire. Was he in Interview with a Vampire?
No, he wasn't.
No. John Wick and League of Super Pets. At Noah Andy said has to be The Matrix, a movie that set the standard for Hollywood action sci-fi. P.S. I'm in Orlando, half canned. Wonderful. Have a good time in Orlando. Just films and that, said The Matrix. G.G. Humphrey said The Prince of Pennsylvania. His best quote ever came from this movie, which was, you know, those things are damn near indestructible. Come nuclear holocaust, there will only be 2 things left in this world, cockroaches and goddamn portable shithouses. There you go. That's if we ever do top 10 movie quotes, I'm going to put that one in my in my top 10. Thank you very much, everybody, for your honourable mentions. That's it. We did it.
Yeah,
we finally
did it. I must admit, I thought we were all gonna have John Wick. When you said John Wick number 3 for number 3, I thought we could have another one where we've got all the same number 1, but it wasn't. It doesn't matter. Matrix, I think, could have been either way for all of us, I think. But yeah. So, what for your podcast? What have you got coming up on your pod?
Well, so I've actually got, I don't know when this episode is coming out. Is this coming out very soon? Or
this will be coming out on the 26th of September.
26th of September. Okay. Yeah. So, coming up, I've got, might as well say, because, you know, it'll be all out by then. So I've got Blade 2 coming out this week as of recording. That's actually coming out tomorrow. I'm then going to be taking a bit of a break week because I've been a bit poorly. So I haven't managed to get the stuff done that I needed to do. But after that, it's going to be Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited to do. And then I think about the time this episode comes out, it's going to be Adam's Family Values.
Okay.
Nice.
But I need to basically rejig my schedule a little bit because I've basically had to take a week off because of being a bit poorly. So yeah, my schedule's kind of a little bit up in the air, but I think it'll be Adam's Family Values at the end of the month. And then I'll be going into a month of foreign cinema, which I'm really excited about because foreign movies are great. There's loads of them. And I'm going to focus on some amazing foreign language movies from like China, Japan, South Korea, Sweden, and Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Spanish language. It's Spanish language, but I believe I need to check, but
Yeah.
I can't remember where it's set now, but I'm sure it's set in Mexico. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited to look at some foreign films.
Excellent. Well, we'll put the link in the show notes to the pod. Please go and have a little listen to it. Go and subscribe and all of the stuff that goes along with that. So I take it you're on all the different platforms as normal.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm rubbish at plugging my own stuff, aren't I? So yeah, my podcast is Verbal Diorama, and it's basically all about the history and legacy of movies you know and movies you don't. And so I do a full deep dive into different movies every week. Some big blockbuster movies, some kind of smaller movies, but any movie that's got a really interesting story behind it. I love to talk about production stories and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite things. I love researching stuff. So yeah, I can find Verbal Diorama on all of your podcasts. That's basically wherever you find this podcast, you can find Verbal Diorama as well.
Excellent. We will put the link in the show notes as well to make it even easier for you to go. Before we say goodbye, Neil, do you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch with us and all that gubbins?
Of course I will. So you can find us on all the social medias at Top10Pods. Give us a click, give us a like, give us a follow. Email us at toptenpods@hotmail.com. Ask us any questions or give us some suggestions for top 10s. And do please come and help support the podcast at patreon.com/top10pods. There's all sorts of rewards for your delight, including being a guest. Check out all the links via the link tree. You can find the link in the show notes, and do please give us a rating review wherever you get your podcast from.
Wonderful. And we'd like to say hello to Kelly. Kelly Palmer is our latest Patreon subscriber. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Bless you so much for your support, and enjoy the bonus content. There will be a video playlist to go with this. We'll have the Keanu kiss from what was it called? Always Be My Maybe. We'll have a few clips of him doing his Dracula stuff, and I'll even put the clip of him in Knock Knock, which is seen to be believed, or whatever the saying is there. But that's it. Thank you so much, Em. It's been so nice to finally meet you properly and speak to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really good fun.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Neil, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bev. Thank you very much, Em. It has been an absolute
I was
joy.
going to say, don't you mean excellent?
Yeah, that's what we should have done. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and watching, and let's start the countdown.
10, 9.